My great-grandfather came over from Poland at the turn of the previous century, I think somewhere around 1908. When he came over, he had to actually swear off allegiance to Tsar Nicholas II. And basically, he never left Poland. He never learned English, never learned the customs. He would walk along the highway and pull down his pants and pee as cars went by and the whole deal. He bought a pre-existing dairy farm that stretched back to the Civil War era. And he kind of did what he did when he was in Poland. He grew a bunch of different vegetables and the like, and onions in particular. There was a major wave. A number of Polish immigrants were coming into this area and settling it. It was all a cedar swamp for the most part, and it was primarily cleared by a lot of these immigrants that turn of that previous century in the early 1900s, and it was cleared by hand. And that clearing process went on for the next 60, 70 years. My grandfather came over from the muck areas in Poland, so he was familiar with the soil. Onions was a well-suited crop for the muck soils there and for here as well, and that's what they were familiar with, and that was one of the primary crops that he grew. My father took over the farm when his father passed away, which was in 1967. I started working on the farm when I was 5 years old. When we would harvest, I had, hand labor jobs of picking onions up that fell out of the crates and putting them into the crates, and then hand weeding and the like. And my summers, my breaks were all helping on the farm. Springtime, helping plant, helping my dad. Then during the summer, helping hand weed, picking stones, and then helping harvest. So I worked like an adult then. From 93 onward, I saw my dad every day, and I worked with him virtually every day for years and years and years. Muck refers to the type of soil that's deep, rich, dark in color, high in organic matter. This area is the largest producer of fresh greens that are supplied for the green markets in New York City. And onion-wise, production has gone down significantly. Back in the early 90s, there was like 60-some farmers, and I think at that time there was at least 8,000 or 10,000 acres of onions that were grown, which accounted for over 7% of the nation's storage onion production. Currently today, my understanding is it's roughly 3,000 acres. It's down to like maybe 15 farmers, and that percentage has dropped like under 3%. The reason the percentages of onions have gone down, I put it on two factors. One is pressures from the market, and specifically overproduction in the United States and Canadian exports. The other thing that's been very problematic has been we've had a significant number of weather disasters, and I would argue that those were precipitated by or caused by or exacerbated by climate change.
The 30-mile-long Black Muck Basin boasts some of the richest soil in the nation. This spring, it's saturated soil. Relentless rains, debris-choked riverbeds, all are being blamed for the floods which destroy seeds and force planting delays. Farmers say the only thing draining around here is their wallets.
We've had major crop losses in onions over the years that were just overwhelming. 96, hailstorm. 98, massive hailstorm. 99, a drought that was up and down the eastern seaboard. And then some floods, and in particular the flood of 2011, when Irene and Lee caused the Walker River to flood twice. When I get wiped out by a storm, it's not just I'm losing my potential income for the year, I'm also losing everything I invested before that. So it's like you're losing your job and you're taking everything out of your bank. You're emptying out your bank account too. When I was hit by the hail in 96, we had to get an emergency loan. It was like something like, I forget, like 60, 70,000. And then we just kept having subsequent events. The amount of money I made on the farm wasn't enough to significantly reduce the debt. I mean, basically I was treading water.
We had purchased crop insurance or thought, you're like, well, we should be okay, right? All of a sudden you find out you've been tricked in a shell game, and that no, you're only going to get paid on 1% because the 50% you lost, that was your deductible. We're like, this is insane. This is some type of strange, I don't know, Kafkaesque world.
They say their tears are not caused by the onions.
In 96, I think I cried every single time I had to sit down and do the bills. In 98, I didn't cry so much as when I did the bills. I cried more when I came out to the fields because there was nothing.
And in 1999, Eve Pawelski says they're crying again as they face another loss of tens of thousands of dollars, even with their insurance.
You had an insufficient federal crop insurance program, and disaster rate programs only would typically provide maybe 10 cents on the dollar on your losses. It's very hard to survive when you have, hundreds of thousands of dollars in production expenses and you're not taking any money in at all. It's hard to survive that.
He tells me we can make money at this, and my mom, he would say, it's possible, and I'm like, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I'm going a decade here, and I've never seen it, so I don't believe you. I had gotten very bitter, and it just buried a lot of stuff. It wasn't until our parents started to get ill that it really put a huge, another level of pressure on us.
My father became ill. He was diagnosed with stage 4 renal cancer in August of 2016. He was dead 6 months later. My dad's passing, it did a number of things. Isolation, it led to, yes, I guess would be like losing a limb. When, you spend so much time with someone over such an extended period of time, it's kind of like almost being married, and then all of a sudden, gone. Just boom. It's jarring, and it's sad, and it's depressing, and hard. And I'm still having a hard time adjusting to it. It's been very difficult.
If I look back at something that was alarming to me, it was shortly after Richie, his dad, had passed. He was freaking out about how was he gonna do this? How was he gonna run the farm by himself? And pretty much having a meltdown.
The way things progressed that led to thoughts of suicide. I try and look at things logically. You're trying to think of ways out. I start thinking about when my father died. He no longer had to worry about paying this bill, making sure there's enough salt for the water softener, making sure the filter is fixed, making sure this is done. It's all done. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. And that starts to be appealing because it's just, it's so much pressure. When periods of time have happened where I've lost everything, I have no ability to, as it appears, to pay for anything, bills, expenses, and the like. It's weird. It starts as a rational thought. Well, here's an option. I got a life insurance policy. If I die, then that money can go to pay off all those debts. My wife and kids to be taken care of. Then step 2, logically, is then how you're going to do it. You type into Google, what is the least painful way to commit suicide? I have to say that they all sound equally horrible. Maybe that's how your mind works to try and stop you. You start thinking about, okay, what happens afterward? If you're successful, and who finds you?
I know there were times that, and I know we both talked about, well, do you find that sometimes you're thinking about how you could off yourself? How could do it? And I was like, yeah, there doesn't seem to be a really good way to do it, does it? Not a clean way. If you come up with a clean way now, I can't seem to come up with a clean way. I was frustrated. I wanted him so badly to just get a grip. And I know I said things that were not kind. I've threatened him. I'm like, you can't. Don't you dare. You promise me you will not leave me with this mess. Do not leave me with this mess. I don't think I was the best person I could be. I realized, and I remember telling him, I said, it's not that, I don't think it's that you really want to die. It's just that you want this to end. There's got to be some end to this, some resolution.
"2019 was the year that put me out. I simply just couldn't sell. I took a massive beating. I lost a few $100,000, and which I could not pay back. And between that and COVID, we sat down together and we decided that couldn't afford to grow onions again, at least not for a while. Our decision to stop growing onions, which was something my family's done for decades and decades, and I've done since I was a small child, came in part in being able to sit down and adequately assess where we were at, not just monetarily, but emotionally and mentally. And where we were at and where we were before we ended going, we were unhappy. My wife could see I was much more depressed, and she was the one to really urge me to go see a therapist, which is what I did. And I saw a therapist for 2 years, and it was helpful. I've had people tell me that I seem a lot happier. My sense locally is that, I'm not unique. Over the years, there have been farmers who have committed suicide, and from farming pressures, from after storms happen and so on and so forth. And it's not something that's new. It's been that kind of pressure and the like, and depression has been going on for a very long time. It's getting worse. So many people are quitting. I mean, again, we went from, in the Black Dirt area, you went from like 60-some farmers down to like basically 15 operations or so, give or take. And people just couldn't take it anymore. I don't think that it's mutually exclusive, farming as far as, feeding the population and being happy. There's enough income within the sale of farm products to basically make the farmer and everyone else along the line happy. The problem is the food system, along with everything else, has been consolidating. A handful of entities control as the outlets. They have way too much negotiating power, way too much economic power. Farmers are basically at their mercy within the system. When I sell a bag of onions, the seed rep gets paid, the chemical rep. If I'm renting from someone, that landlord, the repair guy, and the government entities I pay taxes to, the labor force that works for me, the chemical input companies, fertilizer company, all of them get a part of that. And the only person that quite often doesn't is me. Sometimes in discussion with people on the internet, and I come up and they'll say, we're subsidizing you. And I says, you got it bass-ackwards. We subsidize you because the price that we're getting paid for it is leading to something that is basically artificially reduced as far as the value and the cost and the like. So, I mean, we have one of the cheapest food supplies in the world, in the United States. What we pay in our disposable income is 10% or less. Much of the industrialized West is in the 20s or 30% in some cases, and in non-industrialized world, much higher. So we pay so little for our food. Ever since people were starving back in the Great Depression, federal policy was like, that will not happen again. So we have a policy that ensures that for the most part. I subsidize the economy. It's on my back. If you want to survive, you have to eat. And, I am not compensated, to what degree how important what I do is to, basic human survival. And that's due to the system we have set up. And it's not sustainable. You're gonna, have full oligarchy and a lot more abject poverty, or you're gonna have to change the system and make some major economic adjustments. It's one or the other. Magic is over. I get hope from the fact that, I think it's becoming more and more apparent to the public and to elected officials that this situation is not sustainable.
Good morning. The Senate Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry will now come to order. Chris Pawelski.
Unfortunately, there are two facets of the MPCI policy that we've made no headway on, and it's for this reason, for the first time since 1996, we on our farm have not purchased buy-up coverage for this year, and so have most of the crop growers in Orange County. We believe that the minimal catastrophic coverage is virtually worthless, but we paid the administrative fee for this coverage so as to have access to the USDA programs.
I've worked on issues on the local, state, and federal level. Local from, changing the speed limit on the road in front of my house, to on the federal level just recently getting a major provision in the Inflation Reduction Act. If it's implemented the way it sounds it should be, then our USDA debt will be forgiven. Having the debt forgiven mentally is huge. It doesn't eat as me as much, and I can sleep, and it's just a lot less stress and worry. And it's even more so for my wife, and that means a great deal. The fact that my wife doesn't have the same kind of pressures right now, that means a lot.
If I didn't have my wife and kids, who knows if I'd still be here by now. I don't, to be honest with you.
I was and still am exceedingly proud of him, of the courage that it took to say, okay, I'll stop. I don't think people who haven't had a family farm, understand the depth of what that person is doing. There's a reason why farmers commit suicide rather than go do something else. And others don't understand. They're like, well, just do something else for a living. What's the big deal? The big deal is that farming has become part of your identity. And it's not just who you are, it's who your family is. And the fact that you are the fourth or fifth generation, and now you are the one who is deciding that all of this history, all of this that has been preserved and led up to this point, you're the one who's going to make it end. You're the one who's going to make it stop or change it in some way. It's not a simple amount of dollars. Farmers commit suicide because of those added layers of pressure. He made that decision and survived it. So, yeah, how could I not be proud?